What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Black and Nerdy Tabletop. I'm your host, Zephinix, and today we're doing something different. We're doing an actual tabletop horror stories. I absolutely love these particular stories here. I've always found them really fun to listen to and watch to, and if I'm being super honest with you, they always get good views. Yeah, I'm be the only YouTuber out there who's actually going to be 100% with you guys. At any rate, I want to go ahead and check out this particular story because this one is our first tabletop horror story, and it's about Pathfinder. So let's go ahead and hit that play button and check it out.
This one is kind of old, but one of my favorite moments as a DM because it is eye-rolling, hilarious, and I feel demonstrates my skill as a game master. We were playing Pathfinder, rebooting a previous game with some new PCs at about level 6. We have a fire wizard, a rogue, a two-hand fighter, a life cleric, and a gunslinger. Gunslinger ended up being the big problem. He started the game with a created magic item that let him use the blink spell 3 times a day.
So before we go into the blink spell 3 times a day, I want to be very clear with you guys. You'll notice he said Pathfinder, but you may have noticed he used things like life cleric, which is not in Pathfinder at all. The thing is that he's talking about Pathfinder 1. This story is a minimum of 10 years old. So, you know, Pathfinder Second Edition has only been out for, I think, 8 years, maybe 9 years. So, probably less than that. But either way, yeah, this is about Pathfinder First Edition and not Second Edition. So I want to be very clear on that.
Okay. In Pathfinder, blink makes you flicker back and forth between the material and ethereal plane for the duration. This, understandably, does a bunch of shit. It makes all physical attacks have a flat 50% chance to miss. Makes all of your attacks have a 20% chance to miss. Lets you move through solid objects that are less than 5 feet thick. Reduces damage you take from area of effect damage. It's a strong spell.
So I took the liberty of actually looking up that spell because I really wanted to take a look at it here. So this is the spell that they're talking about here. And as you see right here, it's a lot going on here. Okay, a lot going on here. So good, like I said, Pathfinder 1. Good news is in Pathfinder 2, it's a lot different. As you see right here, all it says right here is you flicker about between your current plane and another, which is really good because it doesn't say ethereal plane. It just says the current plane or another, which means that you might be able to use that to your advantage if you can, if your GM will allow it. So, but I'll get into that in another video here. But it says you gain resistance 5 to all damage except force, and you can teleport 10 feet in any random direction. So, the bad news is that you automatically teleport, meaning that you don't really get to choose which direction that you go into. So 3 out of 4, the DM will most likely have you roll either a D4 or a a D8 or something of that nature, where he'll decide which direction that you'll go into. But the resistance 5 basically means that if the enemy does hit, when you go ahead and do that, when he rolls damage, it'll be whatever the damage is minus 5, unless it's force damage, and that way you take the full damage. So not too bad at all. At any rate, let's go ahead and continue.
Spell. This immediately starts causing problems. First fight is against a marauding pack of gnolls on their way to the real objective. From the get, he's running into the middle of combat, blasting both pistols, heedless of danger due to his blink item. The way he checks for it, he rolls a D10, saying nothing, looks at it, and then informs me whether it missed because of the blink. And wouldn't you know it, almost every single attack against him is consumed by the blink spell, but not a single one of his is. Imagine that.
Yeah. That's it's kind of suspect at best, especially since he's not communicating with the group. Like when someone stops communicating things of that nature, that usually means that they kind of gone in business for themselves. So it sucks because it's one of those single character syndrome, I believe, or heroic character syndrome or something like that. Basically, when instead of like focusing on you as a group, as you should be, you want to make yourself an all-powerful character that'll go ahead and do it. I mean, 3 out of 4, he may not even gotten that item for blink spell. He may not even gotten that item legitly. He might have just created it just so he can go ahead and have an edge. So I really don't like people like that. If you're going to do something like that, do it honestly. You know, if you got to go ahead and level up a sorcerer to get blink, I understand that's going to be a hell of do, but hey, having an item, that to me, that just does not, a custom item, mind you, to me, that's just not okay. Let's go ahead and continue with the story.
I ask him what the system he's using is, whether it's highs or low, odds or evens, what numbers he's using for his own attacks, etc. He says highs I missed, lows I miss.
Okay, so highs, high, basically what he means is, if it rolls high, that means that he actually, they miss him. But if it's low, then he misses them. Okay, got it.
Miss. I tell him that's a little confusing and ask to see his next roll. He rolls his eyes, but agrees. Next attack against him hits. He rolls immediately, picks it up before I can see, and tells me it's a miss. I remind him that I said to let me see his roll, and he informs me, you need to be quicker. Just get the next one.
Okay, so that's not okay. To me, that's almost disrespecting the DM. And the one thing you don't want to do in general is disrespect the GM. I mean, the GM is the one running the game. If he decides to up and leave, you are pretty much, you lose. You lose the game. Or if he decides to be petty, that's even worse. So yeah. But the simple fact that this guy's doing everything that he can do possibly just to go ahead and make it so that way, he gets over. That's just, I mean, everything he needs to do just to go ahead and make sure that no one can see the roll so he can tell you what's going on. That's bad. That's completely suspect at best. So let's keep on continue.
1. Now, I'm a pretty permissive DM, but when shit like that happens, the gloves come off.
Damn right.
I told him to re-roll it. And from now on, any concealment/displacement/bullshit mischance rolls that I don't see don't count.
So let me be very clear. When you're being a GM or a DM or a QM or a BM or whatever you want to be, here's the thing. Let's be 100% with it because we need to be very clear with this. Sometimes you got to go ahead and put your foot down. Okay, you are right at that point. You are the king of games. Your job is, yes, to make sure that everyone is having fun, to guide the players through the adventure, sure. But at the same time, you are the referee. You are the one who comes up with the rules. If the player is going to play, then he needs to go ahead and understand that that is the case. And that's exactly what this guy did right now. He went ahead and just said, okay, you know what? Let's make a new rule right now, right here. No changing it. Bang. And you got to do that when you're a DM. You got to be one to go ahead and speak up because at that point, there's a chance that this gunslinger's antics is going to ruin the entire game. You don't want that. So you got to go ahead and kind of, I'm not going to say put him in his place, but you got to go ahead and make sure that you put your foot down to the point where you say, okay, this is what's going to happen, and that's it. You got to do it sometimes. I hate doing it. I really do. And luckily, I've never had to do it too many times. A lot of times when I'm playing my brothers, they understand that role. And plus, I'm a passive and promiscuous. Well, I'm going to say promiscuous. That's not the right word. But I'm a very chilled and laid back DM. And I can be that way because my brothers usually don't challenge it. They may have a question, or maybe they're like, hey, this doesn't work like that. Okay, well, let's go to the rule book. Okay, got it. So that's usually the extent of our problems. But this guy is clearly trying to be just extra for no reason, just to go ahead and get over. And I hate players like this.
Count. I informed the rest of the party about this. They agreed, all except for Gunslinger.
Of course.
He argues that combat already takes long enough, that he feels targeted, blah, blah, blah. I told him that the only other option is I roll everyone's mischance myself, and he shuts up immediately.
So I want to be very clear. When it comes to people doing dirt, when they don't want to get caught, the first thing they do is they go ahead and victimize. They go ahead and be like, you're attacking me, you're blobbing, you're targeting me, you're taking my lunch money, and that's what they do. So it's a very common trait for them to do. The one thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and be like, almost ignore it for the most part. Especially if it's not true. I mean, don't get me wrong. When he's being targeted, oh, hold on, my mic fell. But when he is targeted, that's one thing. But this, he's just saying it just so he can go ahead and get you guys off his back, so he can go ahead and continue to do the dirt that he's doing right now. And he needs to be stopped.
Immediately, I have him reroll the blink chance. It comes up a 2, and he says, "See, the thing missed me." I looked at him, almost glaring. "Dude, what did you say to me before? About how your system works?"
Right.
He rolls his eyes again and says, "Highs I miss, lows I missed."
No,
I
it's the
inform
opposite.
him that is wrong. I confer with the other players who confirm what they heard, that he literally just said the opposite a few seconds ago. He immediately goes on the offensive. "You're all ganging up on me? This isn't
See, once again, it's him playing the victim. Now, there are many ways that you can fix this. For example, okay, so from now on going forward, it's either highs I miss, lows I missed, or going forward, it's either highs I missed and lows I miss, whatever, but you have to, at that point, I would say, instead of trying to play the victim, go ahead and make it, make sure that everyone understands. So going forward, there are no issues. But this guy instead decides to go ahead and play the victim card. And that's, I'm sure eventually is going to piss off the DM.
fair. I told him that from now on, any attack on him that scores low misses.
Oh,
Any
he did
attack
it.
he makes that checks low also misses.
So yeah, he did that. Exactly what I said is exactly what the DM decided, that he's going to step up and go ahead and do it. Now, personally speaking, I believe the gunslinger, that's his responsibility to go ahead and do it. But at the end of the day, the GM said, "All right, I'll take care of it, no problem." Good. So far, he's a great GM.
Misses. That we're going to be consistent and easy. No more of this shifting goalpost bullshit. He argues for a second, but I move on. Sometimes, as a GM, you just have to put your foot down and move on.
That's exactly what I said before. Sometimes you just listen. Your job is to be the referee, true, but it's also to make sure that the actual players are having fun. So you want to go ahead and make sure that they're having fun. And that's the issue. So you got to go ahead and push against people like this sometimes. Like I said, if you got a problem with it, the door's right there. Okay? You can go ahead and blink right out of it.
Right near the end of the fight, someone shoots an arrow at him, and he throws his D10. It comes up 0, and he says, "Missed. Nice try." I say to him, "Dude, that hits. The hell is wrong with you?" He looks at me with this kind of tired anger. "You said lows miss. That's a 0. That's low, you idiot." "No, that's a D10. 0 on a D10 is a 10. As in 1 more than 9 is in high. Are you fucking with me right now?" He tries to appeal to the rest of the group to back him up, but that just does not happen, though he is able to waste 10 minutes of my life arguing that 10 is less than 5, so that's a thing. So at this point, I am super done with this.
Yep.
We just started and already I have cheating, players challenging my calls, a dumbass attempt at gaslighting, and we're maybe 2 hours in.
Oh,
I don't want
wow.
to ban him for various out-of-game reasons, but I need to do something about this. So I decide to alter the adventure to make things a bit more interesting.
Okay, so let's stop right here because I can already see that the DM has had enough and he's about to get petty. So I would like to see how he actually gets petty, though. This is going to be very interesting. But yeah. Admittedly, I probably would have made that mistake too. I'm like, oh, right, D10. Damn, my bad. But then that would have been it. Because, like, once you think about it, it's common sense that the D10, the number would be 10 because it has 10 sides. So if it has 10 sides, then it couldn't be 0 because it would only have numbers 0 through 9. So clearly it's 1 through 10. Plus, I've never seen a D10 with an actual 0 on it anyway. But I can definitely understand that there might be one out there. So at any rate, let's keep on going.
Interesting. Their adventure was to go and look into a village that had to be abandoned due to what they were told were a bunch of ghosts. They talked to a few escaped villagers who spoke of monsters appearing out of thin air and attacking them. They got a few pairs of goggles that would let them see immaterial things from a local witch. They then set off to look into it. They get in town and start poking around. They make some perception and checks to look around, find some odd husks. One of them finds a locked bathroom with a dead guy in it, and no window someone could have attack from. They look around with the goggles, see no ghosts, and assume the spirits must come out at night. They rest until nightfall and follow after some movement they see in the square. As they approach, something monstrous attacks Fire Wizard.
Ooh.
They all roll initiative, Gunslinger pops his item, and then it all comes together. Originally, I was planning on playing the adventure straight, just having a bunch of ghosts infesting a village that the PCs had to clear out. I replaced those ghosts with spiders, specifically a mating pair of phase spiders. An ambush predator that weaves the smoky stuff of the ethereal plane into tangled nests and jaunt through the plains to attack their prey.
Wow, that's actually pretty interesting. Give me 1 second. Let me load up void spiders. Phase spiders, excuse me. Okay, here we go. And okay. So these are the phase spiders right here. That he's referring to. Not bad. And keep in mind, this is Pathfinder First Edition, so I am not familiar 100% with how they play or how to read the stat block, but it's very similar to both D&D and Pathfinder Second Edition in certain aspects, such as the fortitude, reflex, and will slaves and things of that nature. So it could I definitely see where it's coming from and how to, a good chance of how to read it. So it looks really good. Ethereal, special attack, ethereal ambush. What is that? A phase spider that attacks foes on a material plane in a surprise round. It can take 4 rounds. Okay, that's a surprise round. Ethereal jaunt. A phase spider can shift from the ethereal plane to the material plane as a free action. Okay, they can go back and forth. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Oh, this is actually kind of cool thing. Let me see what the, I believe they're called. This is an Ether Spider in Pathfinder Second Edition. So give me a second. Let me bring up the Ether Spider. And, okay. So right here, Ether Spider. This is the actual Ether Spider right here. So this is what they're actually going against. And it's called Ether Spider in Pathfinder Second Edition Remastered. So yeah. A lot of the same things. Ether Step is what they go from back and forth. Very interesting enemies, to say the least. But let's go ahead and continue.
Prey. Sort of like a trapdoor spider, except instead of springing out of an obscured hole in the ground, they pop out of thin air and are the size of a horse.
Right.
So the party is getting attacked by a couple of these things shifting in and out of the ethereal plane. Fire Wizard is hitting them with Magic Missile. Two-Hand Fighter and Rogue are holding actions and landing strong attacks on the things when they shift back into attack. And Life Cleric is healing up anyone who gets ambushed. As for Gunslinger, well, Gunslinger is dying. Remember how Blink works? It causes a target to bounce back and forth between the material and ethereal plane. The ethereal plane is where these things live, and that's where their young are. The baby spiders are smaller, but still the size of a large dog. Since he's the only one on the ethereal plane, he's the only one they can attack. By round 2, Gunslinger is being mobbed by a horde of ravenous spiderlings, and nobody can help him. He rips off the item that lets him blink, but I tell him the item lets him cast the spell, not that the item is the source of the ongoing effect.
Right.
He starts demanding that Fire Wizard or Life Cleric cast Dispel Magic on him. But they're too busy fighting the mature spiders. They keep attacking him for the whole fight. 8 of these things constantly surrounding him. A round 4 hitting every round on account of the blink spell, still halting 50% of their attacks. I have a wonderful opportunity to describe Gunslinger popping around the battlefield, gradually growing more and more haggard as the tiny spiders are ripping him to pieces. One time a critical, making one of them hang off of his face when he shifts back to the material plane.
Nice.
After a few rounds he dies, and I have great fun describing his flickering body gradually losing mass as the baby spiders start eating him, and I actually get compliments on how evocative I managed to make it.
I must admit, I was just thinking that too. I was like, dang, that's actually pretty good, man. Like, yeah.
Gunslinger's player is pissed and sits there fuming with rage for a good portion of the fight, until he rather abruptly grabs his stuff and leaves, taking Life Cleric with him because they rode together. I ask Life Cleric's player if I can control his character for the rest of the fight, and Gunslinger's player answers, no.
So I would assume Life Player is a woman. Because of the fact that he said he answered no. So yeah, this guy is clear. Oh my God. I hate people like him, like the Gunslinger, because I can see what kind of person he is. He's one of those kind of people that like whines and cries, and when he can't get his way, like he makes himself to be the epic of epic, but when that epic starts when that epic facade tends to go ahead and drop, he tends to go ahead and gets all whiny, you know? So yeah, and the simple fact that he answered no makes me believe that Life Cleric and he are together or whatever, I don't know, but either way connected. And possibly a female. So I'm just saying, it doesn't really matter either way. But yeah, that's crazy, especially answering for the Life Cleric. Calm down, boy.
No. I get a text about 10 minutes after they leave from Life Cleric's player that tells me I can, and the fight finishes out with victorious players.
Nice.
We finish out the session with the remaining players actually using Gunslinger's magic item on the entire party over a few rounds, so they can clear out the baby spiders and burn their nest. Everyone says it was a fun adventure, and we go home. Later that week I get a call from Gunslinger's player, and he demands that I retcon his death because he feels he was targeted unfairly. This is absolutely true, of course, but I tell him that I will do no such thing. He quits, and the game is better for it. My favorite part about this story is that the spiders hitting the village ended up being an interesting twist that I managed to foreshadow effectively despite pulling it out of my ass literally minutes before. This still gets talked about sometimes, and it was conceived entirely out of punitive bitterness.
Punitive bitterness is another word for petty. But I gotta say, number one, I really like the fact that he was able to go ahead and change on the fly. As a GM, a lot of times you gotta do that. You gotta go ahead and change it on the fly. Not for pettiness. I definitely speak up against that. I'll get into that in a minute. But even though it's funny as hell. But yeah, sometimes you got to understand maybe the situation might be too hard for the players or too easy for the players, or does not fit what the players did or anything like that, or you want to go ahead and have a choice that the players made be effective later or ineffective later, or whatever the case may be. Long story short, you need to learn that sometimes you need to modify the battle just slightly sometimes when it comes down to these type of games. You know, for example, maybe one of your players pissed off a goblin, and despite the fact that you were supposed to be fighting goblin dogs here, now you have to fight with goblin dogs as well as a whole bunch of a goblin horde who were sitting there waiting to ambush you, kind of situation, you know, because of what you did prior, you know. But yeah, like I said, things of that nature is definitely good. I really like this story. Like I said, okay, the pettiness, I can't, this was funny, but I gotta say, as a DM, you have to be above it. You have to be above it. Being a GM is going to test your maturity a lot. Sometimes you gotta go ahead and just be better, you know? Yeah, sometimes it's a lot easier said than done, though, you know? So yeah, sometimes even I have problems with it. I have very hard times that, you know, I've had to speak up and speak, I would say, threaten somebody, you know, ever so slightly, just give it, you know, just to go ahead and like, look, man, I'm telling you, you're about to bring me to that point. You need to calm down. You know, I'm about to meet your energy. And that's what this guy did. He met his energy. You know, okay, you want to be a little petty, little blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be a petty, little blah, blah, blah. And guess what? GM won. You know, of course the GM won. You don't piss off your white mage. You don't piss off your GM. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Pathfinder. So you don't piss off your cleric, and you don't piss off your healer, and you don't piss off your GM. So those are the two things that you need to, like, if you're doing anything else but that, you are the problem. You are the problem. I'm sorry. That is common sense. But anyway, that's where we're ending here. I love this story. This was a fantastic story and a great one to start off with. Loving the fact that Ether, our enemy of the day is the Ether spiders. I love it. Let me check it out. Let's check out our enemy of the day. We'll do that too. We got our plus 15 stealth jinkies. Plus 12 athletics. So we got a spider that can literally jump around the room and almost guaranteed to sneak up on you unless you have a rogue in your party who usually has their perception up very high. On top of that, what else here? He's got range web attack. He has his fangs. He moves 40 feet and climbs 20, which basically means that not only is he good at jumping around, but he's good at moving around too. So he's got the mobility. He's got the plus 15 in fangs. What level is this character? Level 5, or the 5th level creature rather. So yeah, this is pretty good. He's wow. I might have to do enemy of the day videos too, because I'm actually liking looking at these particular enemies here. Let me know what you guys think. Comment section below. You guys know what to do. You guys have a good night. I'm out.